and welcome to the CraftyLittle Rat Podcast. My name is Hannah and this is Remus. And I thought, seeing as it's been quite a while since I last podcasted, I thought I'd have a little buddy just for the start, just to sort of show you how they're getting on. Quite a few months ago now, maybe 4 or 5 months ago, we adopted 3 rats. And this is Remus. He's got a brother called Albus. He's showing you his nice bum there. Bum. And he quite likes trying to groom my hair, which is what he's trying to do now. Let's see if I'll come around the back. Say hello. Say hello. So this is Remus. He has a brother called Albus, and they're both black and white, and they're about a year, maybe a year and a half now, coming up to sort of 18 months old. And then there's 3 little white ones as well, and they must be coming up about a year old. So he's sat on my shoulder. He's actually really happy at the moment. He's sort of chattering his teeth, which is called bruxing, which is where they grind their teeth when they're happy. And I don't think he's doing any at the moment, but they boggle as well, which is where their eyes. It's a really weird thing that they do with their eyes, which says that they're happy. He's a bit sneezy because he's just come upstairs from downstairs where they live in the living room. It's a little bit dustier up here than it is downstairs. So it's been a good few months since I last podcasted, and I'm going to be stitching this bit together. I've got quite a few finished objects to show you, and I've got quite a bit of stash enhancement as well to show you. It's been a while. Stuff's not been great, but it's getting there, getting better. So and who can be mad when she's got this little cutie to say hello to? So I'm gonna go pop him back in the cage, and then I'm gonna get on and show you my finished object frenzy, which is basically what I've been up to since we last spoke. So it's mostly socks, pretty much socks. So as always, this isn't a polished podcast. We're not a very professional setup. You can tell this is my spare room. It's not nice because it's a rented flat, so we do as much as, we've done as much as we can with it. Hi, Betty. But yeah, so it's a bit unprofessional, a bit sort of, I did create show notes this time, which I will post online afterwards. Here you go in. But yeah, we're all a bit sort of, it's not the most professional podcast, but hey, cute pets. So Remus is going to say bye-bye now, and those of you who are rat-averse can now actually open your eyes for the next bit when I come back with finished object frenzy. I'm going to go pop him back, and he's going to go have a nap after he's had some dreamies. He loves dreamies. So now we've got rid of the rat-based companion, who somehow managed to try and claw my eye while he was leaving, which is great. He was desperate to come back to me. Reese was also upstairs with my husband, for those of you who haven't watched before. And so he went to go take him back, and he's like, no, Mummy, I want to stay. But never mind. So, finished object frenzy. What have I been doing these last 3 months while I've not been podcasting? Socks. Pretty much, that's it. I've been knitting socks. I haven't knitted as much as I would have liked, maybe in 3 months. I don't know. It's hard to tell. I've had good weeks where I've just wanted to knit. I've had bad weeks where knitting hasn't even really crossed my mind much. So when I started feeling those, I cast on some socks. So these are not in any particular order because I've got a big pile of socks here. But half of my reluctance about podcasting is that I have so much to tell you guys, and at the same time it feels like so little to say as well. And it's just sometimes it's just felt like a bit too much. So these are in no particular order, and so that you're aware, I know we're not normally an organised podcast. It's not normally particularly structured, but this week maybe even more so. But part of the incentive behind today is because I want to wear some of these socks. I've been saving them so that I can show them on the podcast first. I haven't brought sock blockers up with me, but that's okay. We'll just go. This is what I'm thinking about this whole recording, is that we'll just go. So definitely not in order, because these are my latest finished pair of socks. So this is actually the 70th pair of socks I've ever knitted according to Ravelry. So there may be some that I did before I started recording every project on Ravelry. But these are the 70th pair that I've knitted according to Ravelry, and they had to be rainbow because I really like rainbow. So the yarn for this one is Wendy Rome Fusion 4-ply in colourway 2033 Pike. So there is 2. They do not match because I do not match my socks. So these were a slightly thicker yarn than normal. So I did these on 2.5mm needles. It's quite a sort of a socky sock yarn, a rustic feeling yarn. And as you can tell, it's sort of the 2 plies, the second ply is sort of speckled. So yeah, it creates a really nice sort of more of a gradient effect than some of the solid striping yarns. That's the bottom of the foot, which is how it looks in stockinette. So this sock I did, it follows the Blueberry Waffles pattern. In theory, Blueberry Waffles pattern is a double knitting weight sock pattern. This is still 4-ply. But yeah, so the Blueberry Waffles, it's a free pattern, so I'm not giving anything away, but it's a mistake rib. So it's got 20 rows of ribbing, Blueberry Waffles pattern. I did a traditional heel flap and gusset on these with a rounder heel. So the site that I've used, that I've talked about before in the past, is called Heels by Numbers. So it's a fantastic site. If you're at the stage where you're knitting socks happily without the need for instructions for every single step of the way, or you've got an ordinary sock pattern and you want to try a different heel in it, especially if you're just using the ordinary heel flap and gusset style, then Heels by Numbers is great. So it's got a column along the top of how many stitches you use for your sock, and then all of the different styles down the side, and so it's split. So I mean, I often use it if I'm doing say a different sized heel. I've been using it a lot recently because my other pairs of socks I've changed my stitch count on. So it's great to sort of refresh on what sort of heel. So I really absolutely can't wait to wear these. I think these ones might go on afterwards because I've had a shower and got changed. Okay, admittedly into a fresh set of pyjamas, but I've still showered and got changed today. And so I might pop these on just as a reward for actually getting the podcast done, and hopefully as an incentive to get it uploaded. So the next set are these little shorty socks, and these are made out of Berger de France Gumi and Gumi 50s. So it's 2 separate 50-gram skeins of yarn. So this actually only took 50 grams in total. So I've still got 25 left of each. Still got 50 left, 25 left from each ball. So I may make some more short socks, or I may use it for contrasting heels and toes and that sort of a thing, because it's quite nice. So the colourway is Imprim Pale, which just means pale pattern. Which is a terribly inventive name, but it's yellows and browns. And I thought I want to try some sort of shorter socks. So I did Fish Lips Kiss heel on these, which is one of my favourite heels to do. And then I did about, I don't know, possibly 4, 6, 8, 10, possibly 12 rows of normal stockinette before I started 20 row cuff. So yeah, these are just about the right length for sort of short trainer socks. It seems to be a bit of a craze at the moment that everybody's doing short trainer socks, so I thought I'd join in. These again, like a lot of my other socks, I've now increased my stitch count. So for 2.5mm, I use 64, and then for these I use 68. Yeah, 2 extra per side, 68. My tension seems to have got a bit tighter over the last few months. Possibly to do with stress and anxiety and the mental brain weasels that are about, which I'm being medicated for, and I'm seeing somebody about them as well. So it is all in process, but maybe sort of stress and tension can affect your gauge. It's a known fact. So case by case basis, but yeah, it's just giving me a little bit extra sort of stretch in the foot. 64 stitch socks I've done, including some of the more recent ones. They still fit. They're just a little bit tight. But again, probably will stretch over wear and washing. So again, while I was on holiday, we went up to my mother's for 2 weeks in July, like we tend to do. I also started and finished these. This is another pair of Blueberry Waffle socks. This time it is Blueberry Waffles pattern by Sandy Turner, in case I didn't say so before. This time the yarn for these is Countess Ablaze Lady Persephone sock, and the colourway is Stardust. So last year for my birthday, this yarn, the Gumi 50 in Imprim Pale, was a gift last year, I think, for my birthday. It's for last year or the year before. This was also a gift. This yarn, I bought 3 skeins of Counter to Blaze with some money that my sister sent me last year for my birthday. So yep, so birthday socks all round really. So yeah, this again, it's the blueberry waffle pattern. That's how it looks on a yarn that's a bit more, bit busier, I suppose, than the sort of the gradual colour gradients. That's how it looks. That's how it came up on the foot. Lots of sort of flashing, which I'm quite glad I ended up doing the blueberry waffles pattern for, because it sort of split it up a bit. So again, another pair of these that I'm really looking forward to wearing. These again are 2.25mm needles because it's thin sock yarn, and that's using the slightly larger stitch count of the 68. Right. So I had ages ago my first ever Wonderwall I went to. Sorry, basket under there. It's been bashing me in the knees. Storage. It's, as you can tell, a bit of a premium. So the first year I went to Wonderwall, I bought some sock blank, a sock blank designed for dyeing, so I could dye my own sock blank, and I got round to it about a year or so later. And then that must have been 5 years ago, because I know that we dyed it in this house and will have been here for 5 years in September. So it's sort of possibly maybe 4.5 years ago that the sock blank was dyed. I never entered it on Ravelry, goodness knows why. But yeah, I was excited because we had an outside here and I could go outside and dye it. But I hadn't knitted it up until now. So these are the socks from my sock blank. It was a double-stranded sock blank. So both of the socks match in terms of pattern. I did these 2 at a time because, again, it was a double-stranded sock blank. So 2 at a time from the toe up, because that's my preferred way to work, 2 at a time. And the heel is the Fish Lips Kiss heel. I love the fact that it divided sort of straight down the heel. And you get that sort of that helix effect where you've got sort of pink with blue and then blue with just a sort of the flash of the dark pink. I wasn't too keen on the brown when I dyed. I think I had some brown dye that I wanted to use up. But in the socks, it's actually pretty unoffensive. It works. I made the leg, I think, a tiny bit shorter than I would normally, tiny bit shorter than I would normally do. So that's the foot and the leg. I like to have them match, if not the leg be slightly longer, because I had another patch of brown, which you can just see on this bind off edge, just creeping in. After that yellow, and I didn't want the bind off to be in the brown. I wanted the bind off to be in one of the brighter colours. These again were 2.25s? Yes. Yes, the stitches are smaller than the 2.5s. So 2.25mm needles, and again, this is the first pair I think I went. No, this might not be the first pair. This is again is with the increase in the stitch counts to account for a slightly larger foot size. So how did it start off with the sock blanks? I'm a bit in love with sock blanks at the moment. I've got one from Jenny at Owl About Yarn that I want to knit up. But back when we went to Wool in May with our friends Christina and Nicole, who were visiting from Canada, we went to Wool in Bath, and I bought a sock blank from Wool on from Flock on the Plain. So yes, it's an unnamed sock blank, but it knitted up into these beautiful sort of blue and white striped socks with sort of flashes of pink sorts of speckles in it. There we go. It's nice big pink speckles near the heel there. So this was where my obsession with the sock blank started. This yarn was slightly thicker than my usual sock yarn, so I went for a 2.5mm needle and a 64 stitch sock. Again, you may notice the top of these socks compared to these socks, it's a lot more fluted and a lot wider. So the reason behind that is these are top down, and it's a standard long tail cast on cuff, which has a lot of stretch in it. When I go from the toe up, I do a a bind off where you sort of knit 2 together, pass it back, and then knit 2 together again. So knit 2, pass it back, knit 2 together, pass it back, knit 2 together, pass it back, knit 2 together. And it does create this sort of this really fluted edge, but it has a lot of stretch in it. Because there's nothing worse than toe-up socks where you've got to get them over your foot, over your heel especially. And then I have large calves. It's, you know, it's a family failing. I have large calves, so it's nice that they don't sort of dig in or have to sort of bunch them down so they can fit around a narrower part of my leg. But it does look a little bit weird when you're sort of just holding them up flat, but that's okay. So there are 2 of these. 2 of every sock. I've done well with pairs, you know, actual pairs of socks. So yeah, these are Flock on the Plain. She sells her yarn in the shop in Bath, which is nice, and I think she sells a little bit online as well. Couldn't see any sock blanks when I last looked. Other socks I've done, I finally finished, and I think I did show these last time, and I finished them fairly early, but I haven't worn them yet because I've not podcasted them. These are the Yarn Shop Day socks. They're being a bit creased because they've been sat. I did a really long leg on these looking at them. The leg is a lot longer compared to, it's about an inch longer when you compare it to another sort of sock that I've done recently, but that's okay. So it's the Yarn Shop Day colourway by West Yorkshire Spinners, and this is just a plain sock. I think I did the round heel on this one. So it's not quite as round as the one from earlier, but still fairly round. Yeah, again, these are actually 64 stitches on 2.25mm needles, so they're a tiny bit tight, but with wear they'll stretch, I'm sure. So yeah, 2 of those as well. Did not colour match. Yeah, did not colour match, but it ended up not horribly far off actually, she says. Sort of maybe about 3 or 4 rows out. I also finished, I did a lot of car knitting in June because we went down to my work's other site, which is based near Southampton. We were down there twice in June, and it's a long way. It's about 3 hours each way, and I did not have to drive, which, yay, hate driving. I've been driving for 2 years now, 2 years, but it's not my favourite thing to do. So I managed to whack out a good amount of socks on both journeys when I wasn't sort of so tired. I just go, because it was a Monday. Oh, I'm tired thinking about it. It was a Monday and then it was a Friday. But I also completed these as we went. This is Hawthorn Fingering by Knit Picks, and the colourway is Confetti Sparkle. Confetti Speckle, even, not Sparkle, no Sparkle. I did a 1x1 twisted rib on these, and I did a Sweet Tomato Heel. So the Sweet Tomato Heel is a cat bordy pattern. And it's where you use slightly more, you use 3/4 of your heel, and it creates it's a short row, sort of turned heel, knit in 3 different wedges. It's nice. I have got 1 more skein of fingering. Oh, I also did, for the first time, which I forgot to tell you about, that I did on these toes, but I did a star toe. So the star toe is different to the traditional, can't really see it very well on here, but you can on these, if I could just make my mind up. So a star toe is where you decrease down more rapidly, and you decrease in the middle and at one of the ends, and it creates a, you get down to 8 stitches in the end, which you then shrink up using a, which you then do like the hat, like a top of a hat. So it creates sort of a star-shaped toe. So I did it on these because the heel turn being over 3/4 of the stitches, it made it quite hard to sort of differentiate where that line is. So on a traditional sock, bear with me, on a traditional sock where you do a gusset, do you see how that line forms there? That line is actually the gap between my needles. So it forms and then it goes straight down into that line, which is there your toe decreases. Not quite as easy when you're doing a heel that takes up 3/4. You've got to remember where to put them back, blah, blah, blah. But it's just something a bit different. I've never done a toe like that before, so I thought I should do that. The next, I've got 1 more ball of this confetti Hawthorn Fingering to go, and it's more blues, the next one. So what I'm going to do is I will go up to a 2.5mm needle on this. It's a bit it is a bit thick. The socks are a bit sort of, they can stand up on their own a little bit, but that's okay. Last thing, I promise, last thing in the finished object frenzy. I finished my Doodler shawl. So Doodler is a shawl patterned by Stephen West. It was a mystery knit along, and I bought the wool last year at Wonderwool for it from Truly Hooked. I haven't blocked it yet. I finished it back in May. No, yeah, May. I was still working on, no, maybe June. I finished it in June. I finished it a while ago anyway, and I've not had the effort or the inclination to block it. So blocking it is okay. Getting it wet is fine. I've got a sink. This may be so big it might even need a bathtub. It's probably going to need a colour catcher. That's fine. I've got that. It's the effort of then going through and pinning it out. And it's not even the physical effort, it's the mental effort of doing it. So for now, it's not blocked. But when I do eventually get around to blocking it, I will show you. So I don't know. I may block it in order to wear to Yarndale. We're going to Yarndale. I'll talk about that a bit later. So yeah, so this is the edge, and bear in mind that these little points here, these picots, are therefore not blocked, and therefore probably don't look very good. So yeah, so it starts off with sort of like rays, and there's a big band around the edge, which again will look better when it's blocked. This big cable along the top was so much fun to knit. I'm still not entirely sure. It doesn't look like it's the wrong side. The light coming through doesn't help with that, I don't think. It's a garter cable. I have not made my mind up about garter stitch cables. This has not convinced me. I'm not entirely convinced they're the neatest looking thing in the world. I don't know. And again, this feather and fan bit needs a bit of blocking out, and then it goes out to the big sort of fancy fan portion. So, I mean, again, it's going to be a relatively simple one to wear. I may wear it for when we go to Yarndale, because you ain't never going to miss me in a crowd wearing that, are you? I don't know. I may pack a few to wear. I'm really enthusiastic about it when I was knitting it. I was really enthusiastic about it before. Then the brain gremlins hit, and I don't know. I think it's nothing against the project, nothing against the yarn. The yarns, by the way, the Tweedy one is, they're all by Truly Hooked. The Tweedy one is Superwash Merino Tweed in Kurora. It's Kurora. And then the other two colours, there's MCN Merino Cashmere Nylon Sock in turquoise and Merino Cashmere Nylon Sock in fluorescent pink. So the yarns are lovely, the shawl is lovely. I just think it's brain gremlins, and hopefully when I've blocked it, it'll all feel a bit better to me, maybe. I don't know. Some projects, especially big projects, personally, I have to sort of put away for a few months. And then when I rediscover them in my pile of shawls or something like that, it feels better, or it feels right. You know, there's a lot, I don't know. There's a lot of weird mental stuff goes into knitting, I think, sometimes. And especially things that we knit on when we're not very well, whether that's physically or emotionally. I think sometimes they can carry a bit of baggage. And I wonder whether maybe just washing it and blocking it will get rid of that, will wash it away, or will feel like I've washed it away. I don't know. Brains are weird. And I also need to pick my prescription up from the doctors tomorrow. So I've been down to just one tablet today, which is not good. But never mind. So that's everything for Finished Object Frenzy. And that was a frenzy. That's 20 minutes. So now I can wear my socks. I'm going to just stop here. I'm going to get everything ready again, because obviously in 3 months there's been quite a few stash acquisitions. So I'll get everything ready and I'll come back and talk to you about I'll come back and talk to you about you're still working on that stuff I'm doing at the moment, actually, first, before we delve into stash acquisitions. Okay, so you're still working on that, which is the time of the day where I show, time of the podcast, where I show my current works in progress. So we've got some knitting and a little bit of crochet as well today. I normally then go in to weave all about it and in a spin. Haven't got any weaving, haven't got any spinning. Could try and change that. I want to maybe try and get some spinning on the go. Today I've got a shawl that's still, a shawl or a scarf that's still on the loom for weaving that I need to do. Oh, you can tell if I'm looking sunburnt, I sunburnt back in June. You can tell by just how pale I am here and how red I am here. And it has not gone away. Just permanently now, just sort of red. By winter it might have gone. But yes, this was with 2 lots of factor 30. 2 lots. Because, you know, reapply, blah, blah, blah. I've upped it to factor 50 now, I must say, in my personal kit. And I'm being very careful. I've been using a big golf umbrella as well to shield me from the sun, and wearing hats and all sorts of things like that when we've been out, because apparently I'm just, I mean, you know, I normally burn, but something maybe about these tablets I'm on have sort of sun sensitivity. But yes, this was all horribly bright red months ago when I did it. But yes, this red is just flustered, blushing, trying to podcast red. But yes, that red was sunburn. So finished object frenzy. Finished object frenzy's been done. You're still working on that. I've got a half finished object. I've got a hoe. So this is the Finn socks, which are by Sarah Bodellen. And you may have noticed these because everybody's been making them for Tour de Sock. Now, I'm a bit sad about Tour de Sock because when I saw it, Tour de Fleece always happens when we're away at Mum's, and it's a bit of a pain carting a wheel and stuff like that. Mum lives rurally. Mum and Dad live rurally. They do live together. They live rurally, and their internet connection never used to be any good. It's better now. But I thought, I don't really want to do Tour de Sock and, you know, not be able to keep up or not post. I tend to use it as a couple of weeks free of internet time. And I tend to access the internet on my phone. But it's actually after I got back. So maybe next year I'll do Tour de Sock. So this is Ocean Parks Yarns classic sock in Mud Bay. So this is a dyer from the British Columbia. So my friend Christina got me this for Christmas. Christina and Corey got me this for Christmas. And it's got cute little shark fins at the top. So this is a really unusual pattern because this is your heel. So what you do is it's an afterthought leg. So you sort of knit up to the point sort of here. Then you put in a lifeline. And then you knit your heel and you've got like a pita bread of a sock, as Zoe from Pins and Needles podcast described on my Instagram. It's pita bread of a sock. You then open it up and then knit your leg upwards. So for me, they said to use a stitch count that's fairly similar to your ordinary sock count. So my ordinary sock count now is 68, as we've discovered. And I think this one was an odd number, and I think it was 67. I thought, well, that's all right. It's not bad. Close enough. Or was it, yeah, 66 or something like that. It was close enough. It wasn't too far off. But these are a little bit too tight. So the second one I'm working on, this is the bag that my friend Angie at Silver Goose Gold got me for Christmas this year, with cute little foxes and fox print pattern on the inside as well. So this is the second sock. So rather than do a traditional, rather than do the heel that's stated in the pattern, it's a bit hard to tell the difference, but I did a fish lips kiss heel on this second pair to see whether that gives me a little bit more room. Not a huge amount. So what I may try doing for the next one is it's not tight on the heel, it's more tight on the leg. So I may try going up to the large size of the pattern, or I may try doing the sort of the medium for the foot and then increasing after I do the heel. But I think the fish lips heel is a much better fit for me than this afterthought heel. But you've got to try these things, right? That's the thing about the sweet tomato I'd already tried, but that's the thing about doing this different toe. The toe on these is different as well. It's shorter, a lot shorter than my standard. They're toe-up socks, but it's a shorter toe. You increase more in the start, and then yeah, it is a paid-for pattern, so obviously not giving too much away, but it's a different shaped toe to a traditional toe, where you increase and then knit around and then increase and then knit around. There's more increases in this toe. But again, it's good to play around with fit. I do love the way the fins look at the top, and there is a bit of ribbing. So yeah, they said the sock's as stretchy as a normal knit sock. I don't think so personally for me. I mean, the other alternative thing to do, obviously, is to work the stitch patterns and then add in a couple of rows of adding a couple of extra stitches of rib at the start, or make the foot slightly wider than the at the bottom of the foot, which is stockinette. Stockinette's more stretchy than this top bit, to make that more stitches or something. I don't know. I'll work it out. But yeah, enjoying those. I've got one full repeat done on the leg. I'm in the middle of the second repeat, so I've got 1.5 really. 1.5 repeats to go on the leg before I do the fins. So hopefully those will be finished before I podcast next time, which should be in 2 weeks' time, providing I'm good. Maybe next week, who knows, we'll see. So yeah, 2.25mm needles, and it's on a long circular, which is my preferred way of knitting. And then that's the yarn. So next is sort of an ooh shiny, and sort of a you're still working on that. So for my birthday this year, my sister asked what I wanted, and I said, may I have a whirl, which is shape. I always struggle with this. Shapies. Shapies is a new yarn, and it's a gradient yarn. So that's the ball of yarn. So this is the colourway is Popping Candy, Cotton Candy Man. They have quite a few rainbow colourways, and as you can see, it's a gradient yarn. Centre pull. It comes from the centre. It's there's an easy pull tab on it as well, which is always very nice. Quite like this. And this is, oh, there's so much in here. It's 1,000 meters of yarn. It's 225 grams, and it's 1,000 meters of yarn. 60% cotton, 40% acrylic, so it will hold a block, which is quite nice. So I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do with it. So I thought that I'd do a circular shawl. So this is a knitted flat circular shawl, which is different from an in the round circular shawl, obviously. So it doesn't work out fully circular, but it will sort of drape over the shoulders. The front points will come over the shoulders, and then the back points will sit around the back. So it should be one that sort of holds its shape fairly nicely. See, if I'm pretending that that's my body with no shoulders, you know. Oh, there we go. It's more shoulder-like. It should sit reasonably nicely around the body. So I'm still going with this. I've not yet got through the first sort of colour change. It's very gradual. I mean, you can see, yeah, no, I haven't even got through the first colour yet, really, with the purple. But that's okay. Keep going. It's a nice car knit because it's an increase every 4 rows. So I've got a little on this side. That's the reverse side, but it's garter, so it doesn't matter. A little locking stitch marker here, just to remind me right side versus wrong side, and when to increase, which is nice and easy. So my next row is going to be a knit row, and then I'll have an increase row. So yeah, that's sort of a car project. If the socks I'm working on are a bit too complicated to go in the car, if not, if I need a sort of a brainless project, it's quite nice to have. I expect it to take quite a long time. We're going up to Skipton at the end of the month. Possibly a sort of Skipton project. Lots of trains. Lots and lots of trains. Skipton is a long way away. And if you're not driving, or choosing not to drive, then yeah. So I also started from a long time ago. You may remember me buying the kits and having all of the problems with the kits. But the Higi shawl. Hygge. Higi. You know, that Dutch word, not Dutch word, that Danish word that was very, very big for that period of time. So it's a crocheted shawl with cross stitching on it and bobble effects. So I started. This is the first 3 rows of bobbles done. It's not a very wide shawl. That's the only thing I was expecting. You know, I was expecting it to be sort of a bit wider than that, but I suppose, I don't know. I don't really wear, it's a stole, I suppose. I don't really wear stoles very often. And this one is not for me either. It's my mum's birthday this year. It's her 60th. So I thought I'd do this one. So this is the colourway of the Stonewash Black Onyx. This is from the Rainbow Kit. So this is from the Rainbow Kit. These colours are from the Pastels kit. So Mum likes rainbows, but I think she'd much prefer the colourways to the pastel. but the pastel comes on white, which she doesn't like. She's not a very, she likes dark colours. So I thought, which I know seems contradictory, but she likes dark colours with a light pop. And as much as she does love rainbow, I think she'll prefer it this way around. And that also gives me some white to play with for me. Thoughts about maybe a blanket. I don't think I will make 2 of these because bloody hell, 2 lots of them bobbles. I mean, you know, the bobbles are nearly killing me. I mean, oh, bobbles. So I had to go really well down. It's a 4.5mm crochet hook that they recommend. This is a 3.5 Happy Crocheting crochet hook. I had them on my Amazon wish list last year. My sister got me them. But yes, I think I've only got a couple more rows of bobbles to go. And then I think it's 5 rows of bobbles on each end, and then a bit of a break. Well, I mean, that's the only bobbles. I've got a divider to try and work my way mentally through. But there we go. So that's it for what I'm working on at the moment. And we'll dive sort of straight into All Shiny, which is my stash acquisitions. I should say, this is the colourways for the, this is the cotton. So that's the background, which is the sheepies stone washed. And then the colours come in these little tiny balls of Shapey's Katona, which they're only 25 grams. They're 100% cotton, and that's a cotton acrylic blend. So yeah, then back in that box. Right, all shiny. So again, this is going to be out of order, but I think going back to the start, just before I went off sick, well, just before I was signed off sick with work, the Wonder Woman kits from Owl About Yarn appeared. Loved Wonder Woman. We'd been to go see it, or we were going to go see it, and I thought, oh yes, I really have to have these. So I haven't used this because I wanted to show you guys, but this is the Wonder Woman bag with Wonder Woman fabric. All of this is from Jenny, Owl About Yarn. So you've got that, you've got the star fabric, you've got the lasso of truth, and I pinned on, you've got the Wonder Woman badge there as well, which I've pinned on to my lasso of truth. So this is a really great sized bag, and it opens up with poppers, which is nice. As much as I like zippy bags, poppers are also great. So it opens up with poppers. You've got Wonder Woman sort of star inspired fabric inside. Got a little tiny Wonder Woman themed notebook with some post-it notes in it, and I love a good post-it. Who doesn't love a good post-it? Feels like these are homemade. I think Jenny must have made these. A Wonder Woman sticker, a classic Wonder Woman postcard from Wonder Woman #1, and the inside, which I think is super cool, there is a sort of a fob thing. So sometimes when I'm out, I'll use these as handbags if I'm just taking a wallet or some keys. Just a key normally with me, not my big bag of keys. So it's great to have these sort of things in here so I can clip bits in so that they won't fall into the bottom of the bag. It's got some Wonder Woman themed stitch markers. This is a Progress Keeper, which looks like sort of like Shrinky Dink to me, which is great. And then some little ones with stars on them. And yeah, they've all got little stars on them, but just the colour of the bead at the top changes, and they're sort of Wonder Woman colour themes around there. And they are my favourite sort of stitch markers because they are those jewellery ones which are solid. So there's no chance of the markers sort of walking if you're using sort of thinner yarn. So it's great. So at the moment all of those are just clipped onto that hook. She says they were, and they will be again when I probably finish podcasting. They're just clipped on to these that hook in there, which means that I can keep them all nice and safe. And of course, kits. It's a kit, so like it would be a bad kit if it didn't come with yarn, or you know, would be if that's not what you're expecting. So this is the yarn. Wonder Woman kit exclusive yarn. It's on Sparkle Owl, which I don't know whether you can see the sort of the stellina in there. Sometimes my phone picks up the stellina, sometimes it doesn't. But yes, I mean, it's Sparkle Hour, so 75 superwash merino, 20% nylon, 5% stellina, 400 metres, 437 yards. So it's, haven't yet decided what I want to do with this, because I don't know. I was thinking socks, but then it's sort of too good for socks. Thinking a shawl. I don't know. Lots of choices, lots of time. But I need to start using the, I'm going to start using the Wonder Woman bag, I think. Put my bits back in there so they don't go walkies. Yes. Quite like. Love that. And I love the fact that you can either popper it completely shut, or you can just popper it up to the last one and leave yourself some room for your yarn to sort of come out. And I like that it jingles as well, which is the stitch markers making a jingly noise. So then, when we went home in the summer, I actually only bought 2 balls of yarn. They're both from the same place, in Louth, M&G Crafts, and they're superwash bamboo. So M&G normally has a really decent selection of not 100% wool sock yarns. And by that, I don't mean wool and nylon. I mean ones with bamboo or ones with cotton in them. My sister only wears bamboo or cotton blends. She doesn't wear, she thinks that 100% sock wool, so wool and nylon sock yarns are too hot for her. So I'm happy to do that. So I try and stock up when I can see them. So this is Superb Bamboo Superwash in the colourway 015. And I think that's going to knit up really prettily. Sort of floral, I think. And then this is colourway 013. I think maybe might stripe a bit more. So I'm going to, maybe my next pair of socks I'm going to cast on will be a pair for her. I probably need to start thinking about Christmas knitting for socks now. Probably. I mean, she's the only person I make socks for, but yes, those 2. So I bought those 2. I also found, when we were getting ready to go, this, which I don't think I've shown you, which is the West Yorkshire Spinners in Flamingo. Didn't buy this while I was away. Found it in the suitcase from the last time I'd been to Lincolnshire at Easter. So yeah, another one to add into the stash. I also, these are being held in a bag with a big lot of hair bubbles, because that's the way I roll. So when I came back, or sort of a week or so ago, there was an opportunity to grab a spare Harry Potter themed box from Truly Hooked. I say box, it was a bag, but it was a club, sort of a club shipment. So I got this as well, which was superwash, which is standard sock, superwash merino and nylon, 425 metres, and it's in the colourway Expecto Patronum, and it's Harry Potter themed colourway, because Harry Potter is 20 years old this year. I know. So I love Harry Potter. I read Harry Potter since I was a kid. You know, maybe I think I sort of maybe a year or 2 afterwards. I think it was the last year of primary school, so I'd have been about 8 or 9 when I read the first one. It's great. So it came with a little, tiny little stitch marker, and that one's on the earring hook, which is my second favourite type of stitch marker. So it's on an earring clasp, so it opens up like that and then closes back down, which means that it can be used for either knitting or crochet. And we each got sorted into houses, so I got red, so I'm assuming that means Gryffindor, which is a shame because, you know, Hufflepuff, Huffleclaw, I think. So the big trend at the moment, with the house sorting things, is that a lot of people sit actually in between houses. So the big one is Gryffindor, which is the one that Harry was in, that everybody wants to be sorted in. I'd always felt more of an affinity with Hufflepuff. Hufflepuff people are nice, you know, they're sort of loyal and honest, and, you know, your house is determined by your traits. Slytherin are smart and cunning, and sometimes devious. The bad guys in Harry Potter are in Slytherin, and then there's Ravenclaw, who are very, very smart. So I sort of always felt sort of in between Hufflepuff and Ravenclaw. Depending on what house calculators I use, I tend to get a sort of a mixture in between the two, sometimes a bit of a percentage to Gryffindor. Anyway, got a platform 9 3/4 pin badge, which I think would be good. I'll have to go on one of my bags. And then this, which is a Harry Potter. See, his hair and his eyes are his glasses. and it's a cookie cutter. So I will need to have to make some cookies. These are 3D printed, which, as Verity says, 3D printing is sort of magic, which it totally is. And I think there was also a pencil as well that I got, but that's downstairs in use. So my wonderful, wonderful friend Angie, Silver Goose Gog, got me my birthday present as well. So I got this bag, which is TARDIS's, which is wonderful. Drawstring. Again, drawstrings are awesome because they don't catch on yarn like zipped ones can do. And they also sort of fold down, squish down really, really small. So this is definitely going to be, I might mix my fandoms and put my 9 3/4 badge on there. So that's awesome. It's got a lovely bright red fabric inside. There isn't a maker on this, so I don't know who to say it was sort of from, but it's a really awesome sized sort of pouch bag. It's brilliant. And then she also went to Owl About Yarn. Owl About Yarn is awesome. And this, which is a Dalek stitch marker. Progress Keeper even. Dalek Progress Keeper. So, yeah. 10th Doctor, which is a colourway I've been eyeing up for a long time from Jenny. So again, this is Owl About Yarn. This is a Happy Owl, which is 100% superwash blue face Leicester. 100 grams, 400 metres, 437 yards. So I'm thinking maybe a cowl or maybe a sort of a shawl, maybe sort of pairing it. I've got some yarn that probably goes quite well with this, sort of with the browns possibly. Thinking of maybe pairing it up with a solid. So I really like, with a lot of the shawls, you'll have seen the ones that I've made in the past that have a big garter or a big stockinette section and then an applied lace edging. So I've seen ones that have sort of TARDIS edgings. So I think I may have a blue that I can use along the bottom to knit some TARDISes and then have the main section be in 10th Doctor. That would be awesome. I want to cast that on right now. Oh, watch this space for next week. Oh, you know, I love it. It's brilliant. And then I could keep it in this bag. So many bags, so little time. I do rotate my project bags regularly. I am now getting to the stage where I probably actually need to have a wash of some of them, because some of them are looking a little bit grubby because they've been used so much. Okay, and then the last thing I have, the stash acquisition. I said the last thing. I may have forgotten something because obviously it's been a long time. My brain isn't working 110% correctly, but this is as much as I know. Plus already, you know, sort of probably quite a long podcast episode. So back when I had the mess up with Darren Moore's for the Hugo Shapey's yarn, where they sent me the wrong kit, and then they sent me the wrong kit again, and then they eventually sent me the right kit. They offered, as well as getting points towards it from when we bought it, they offered us some points. Anyway, we got £10 worth of loyalty points. I didn't realise they had an expiry date. Luckily, I was checking my emails, and the day they expired, I got an email. So I was like, oh, rubbish. So I went in and bought some yarn. So I didn't really have any particular need for yarn. I mean, you know, I don't. I mean, that's, you know, a small selection of stash, and that's still a lot. But anyway, I picked up some Drops yarn while I was there because it's so cheap. So I picked up some Drops Fable. So I got this colourway, which is colourway 151, and the colour is Guacamole. I love guacamole. One of my favourite ever sort of foods. Guacamole, love it. So I got that one, which is Guacamole. And I got these two, which I think is Ocean Spray. Colourway 910. And then I also picked up two of these, which is colourway 672, Burgoyne, something like that. Reese had seen a pair of socks when I was so where I sit facing outside of the front, I sit facing the front window. Reese sits sort of at a 90 degrees to me, so he'll be sat here working like this and I'll be facing that way. So every so often he looks over and sees stuff on my computer. He saw somebody had posted a pair of socks they'd made in this on Winwick Mum Facebook group, and he said, oh, I like that, I'd have a pair of socks like that. So while I had the free ones, I thought I might as well. And I mean, I can't remember if my order notes in here. Yes, it is. Picked up some needles as well. So no, it doesn't say, because I paid £8 and I bought a set of needles as well, and they were about £6 the needles. This is something silly like £1.50 a ball. So £3 for a pair of socks, which you can't really beat. So yeah, so despite saying I've got too much yarn, which I do, I feel I do, I'm having a bit of anxiety about how much yarn I actually have at the moment. I'm going to Yarndale. So Yarndale is at the end of September in Skipton. It's a reasonable sized yarn. It's busy with a lot of people, but not a huge amount of vendors. Apparently it's held in Skipton Auction Mart. So I've been thinking for a couple of years that I'd like to do Yarndale. I do Wonderwall every year, and I love Wonderwall, I do. But just sort of trying to maybe see what Yarndale is like, because everybody who goes there raves about it. And, you know, I mean, most years I won't be able to do 2. Wonderwall I get a lot out of, because I get the social side out of it, because I get to go and we stay and friends and all of that sort of stuff. But I thought, well, this year I'll see what the sort of fuss is about. So 2018 is actually shaping up to be a pretty busy year for us. So we've been saving for quite a while, and we're looking to buy a house. We're also going to London for a show. It's mine and Reese's 10th anniversary in January. We've been together for 10 years on January the 1st. So we were looking to go away for his birthday as well. And then also my sister's now getting married abroad. So there's, although we've been extremely fortunate in that travel is paid for us and board is paid for us in that sense, but there's still the associated costs with it, obviously, you know, sort of things like new clothes and you know, sort of spending money and stuff like that. So it's shaping up to be a busy year. So I'm imagining I'm going to not be buying yarn at all in apart from maybe Wonderwool, and I'm trying to really cut down on buying yarn now. But hey, Skipton, so I'm going to take a bit of money with me. My sister's coming as well, and my mum. My mum is not a knitter, she sews, or has sewn in the past. She doesn't sew a lot now, but she is a general appreciator of all things crafty, and also looking to purchase Christmas presents for me. So I point things out and go, oh, Christmas presents, and then I will have forgotten by December. So actually we're not staying in Skipton. We booked too late to stay in Skipton. We booked in July. So we're staying in a place called Keighley, which isn't far from Skipton. I'm getting the train up. Oh my God. So this is a disadvantage of not driving, or not driving. I do drive, but it's a long way to drive, and it's a long way on your own to drive. So in order to get there, I have to go up to Manchester on the train. I change trains at Manchester, we go to Leeds, and then I change trains and go to Skipton. Keighley even. And then Mum's going to drive us to the park and ride. We're going to get the park and ride in on the Saturday. Sunday we're maybe doing something together. If not, we'll be heading back, because obviously Mum has work the next day. And I'm going back to Manchester to go stay with my sister overnight, and I'm travelling back on the Monday. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. So if anybody else is going to be at Skipton, I know quite a few of you are, feel free to come and say hello to me if you see me, or give me a shout. You know, I'm not sure what I'll be wearing yet, but there's probably another podcast in between then where I'm going to decide. I'm probably going to end up deciding that I'm desperate to wear this or something like that, and be frantically knitting. But yeah, I'm not looking to purchase much, but I think there may be some bits that might scream for me. Again, normal festival rules, right? So I'll talk a bit more when we get sort of nearer the time about my sort of top festival tips, because I'm assuming that they're going to be the same or very similar for Yarndale as they are for Wonderwool. And they've applied to Wonderwool, they applied to Bristol when we went to Bristol Wool Show, they've applied, you know, sort of when I went to London to Ali Pali, so I'm assuming that it'll be a very similar sort of set of rules. But yeah, so that's coming up, and then I'm desperately trying to avoid spending money while I'm waiting for that to happen. But yeah, so hopefully it's only going to be onwards and upwards from here. Hopefully I'm going to continue to feel better. I feel a lot better than I did. I'm still not 100% right. But yeah, hopefully I'm going to continue to feel a bit better, go and have more cuddles from the rats. You know, we're trying to improve our diet. So generally, I'm trying to do a lot more cooking. We've just ordered a huge amount of food. So you may have seen, if you follow me on Instagram, CraftyLitleRat, just ordered a huge amount of food from a place called Muscle Foods, which just delivers meat. It's just meat. It's all lean meat. It's all good for your meat, but it's cheap meat, but good quality. So we stocked the freezer up with that, and, you know, just sort of trying to just generally be a bit better, going back to the gym, not necessarily for weight loss, but more for health, trying to just be a bit more active and a bit more active together, I suppose. But yes, I'm going to have to try and work out a way to knit, because I'm not getting much knitting time. Oops. Or spinning time, as said the bobbin, just jumping off the desk. But yeah, so I blathered on probably long enough, and I'm sorry, I know I've talked really fast during this, but thank you all for watching, and I hope to not be so long between episodes, but thank you for coming back. And I'd love to hear what you're getting up to. Leave me a message in the comments. Come follow me on Instagram. I'm CraftyLitleRat. Say hello to me on Ravelry. I don't have a Ravelry group yet. If that's something people are interested in, let me know. I'm just go through stages of being a bit antisocial, but unantisocial. Really social to swing all the way down to a sort of antisocial. So, you know. But anyway, thank you ever so much for watching. Hope you have a lovely time, and I'll hopefully see you in 2 weeks with a few more finished objects. Ta-ra!